When you Google auto insurance Galveston, you can't handle, by June. You need an auto insurance agency in Galveston that knows how to. Oh, you're going? Say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Action.
How do you go back to
What?
to watch it? To watch the video. You know what?
Yeah.
I don't think the whole formal recording thing is my style or is for me.
Yeah, I mean your vibe's kind of off, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm just gonna sit here and talk. You just ask me questions and I'll give you the answers straight up.
All right.
Comprehensive covers any non-collision damage. Yeah, like if a cooler flies out of the back of a boat in front of you and you can't get the license plate down and it flies into your vehicle, comprehensive covers to make sure that the damage done to your vehicle from the flying object is repaired.
Why does it cover under comprehensive?
Comprehensive covers all non-collision damage. So fire, lightning, theft, vandalism, malicious mischief, falling objects. That's all covered by comprehensive.
And then, okay, so like if I was at a festival and somebody backed into me.
Yeah, like if you're at a festival, somebody backed into you, or you're at a festival and somebody's pulling a cooler and they hit your car and scrape down the side of your car, that's going to be covered by your comprehensive.
Well, I don't know anybody be pulling a cooler, but
Well, cooler on wheels.
oh, yes, you're right.
People have coolers on wheels.
We are in Texas, They got some pretty big. They got some pretty big coolers.
They got some big coolers. Big coolers with wheels.
Coolers got big enough wheels, and it hits my car. Is it considered collision? That's a serious question. They got those little coolers with the motors.
Yes. Technically, that would not. Your collision coverage covers when you hit something that is fixed and damage your vehicle. The collision, when somebody else hits your vehicle, that collision is covered under their liability. So the property damage coverage under their liability will extend to pay for your damage to your vehicle, and that person doesn't have to pay a deductible, nor do you pay a deductible. That's the liability coverage that the state requires everybody to have. So Galveston has a lot of streets that has like one-ways, and there's a lot of people driving those one-ways from out of town because of ways. They're giving them the back roads that normally the locals drive on.
And it's basically the center of Galveston.
Right through the center of Galveston. And what happens is, a lot of times these tourists are on the one-ways, they're in the right lane, thinking they're in the normal lane of two-way traffic, and they're at a red light, and they will just turn left from the right lane on a one-way and smooth, you'll T-bone into them. So that coverage, they're responsible for the damage that they do. Because they made that turn in the one-way and they weren't supposed to, they're the ones that are responsible for the damage that's done to your vehicle. Now, here's the crazy part. In the state of Texas, the minimum limits of liability for the property damage is $25,000. Right now, statistics you look at, the average retail value or the average value of a vehicle on the roadway in Texas is $47,000. So if you round that, let's say you round it up to $50,000 and they got $25,000, where's the other $25,000 coming from? Well, if you don't have uninsured motorists, or actually what's called underinsured motorists, then...
Yeah, but I got full coverage.
So that's the other misnomer that's going on in this world. People say the term full coverage. That term was coined from the lending institutions because they're only worried about three things. They're worried about the liability because you have to have that in the state of Texas. But more importantly, they're worried about their asset that they're giving you money to buy. And that's your collision and your comprehensive. So collision covers in the event you collide into something. Comprehensive covers anything other than collision. So fire, lightning, flood, hail damage, anything like that. So if an insurance agency says they're giving you full coverage, that's not an insurance term. That's a coined phrase by the lending institutions that insurance companies have taken over. And people don't know how much they'd have to come out of pocket. So if you have $1,000 deductible on your collision and somebody hits you and they don't have insurance or have enough insurance to pay for your damage, and you don't have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage, you're paying that deductible out of your pocket and having to file on your insurance under your collision coverage. So I'll tell you, there's a lot of things too on automobile policies where you'll see personal injury protection or you'll see medical coverage, right? And they are different. They both cover for medical coverage, But personal injury protection is a little bit more in depth. And what I mean by that is personal injury protection covers for medical expenses, lost wages, and burial expenses. So if someone were to get in an accident, and let's say they are a friend of yours and they don't have medical insurance and they get hurt in an accident, your personal injury protection policy would extend $2,500 to them to help them with their medical cost. Or if they did have medical insurance, it would help towards their major medical deductible.
We just pulled up to your place over on Stewart. I see the rust everywhere. Like, that gets under the vehicles, right?
Oh yeah, really, really bad down here, especially because some of the sewer drains, when we have high tide, that sewer drain backs up into the water and people assume it's fresh water and that's salt water. And so they just drive right through it and then they don't even wash the bottom of their car. So it rusts like really fast.
How does that work with, I mean, I guess it's not covered under warranty, but is it covered under insurance?
Mm-hmm. It is not covered under your insurance. A lot of people think that it is, but it's like normal wear and tear. So if you're not maintaining your vehicle, if you're not washing that stuff off or using salt away when you're washing your vehicle to reduce the corrosion, you're not going to be able to file a claim on that. You're going to have to pay 100% of that out of your pocket.
Yeah, but what's considered normal wear and tear? Because if my stuff rusts out in 6 months, that shouldn't be normal, right?
In Galveston, it is normal.
It is normal.
It's a coastal town. I mean, when we have even with a north wind and a south wind, I mean, we have water on every side of this. It's an island, so
right.
you constantly have salt air blowing. You have salt air, salt water that has salt in the air, and it's constantly getting on your vehicle, and it's everywhere. So,
well, I see AutoZone's next door. You got any recommendations on anything I should clean my vehicle with?
Yeah, I'd actually tell you go to West Marine and get you some salt away and spray.
Smart.
Yeah,
that's what they use on the boats, right?
Just like what they use on the boats. Put a little salt away in there, and you spray it on, and then wash it down, and that's a good way to rinse off your vehicle, especially if you've driven down the seawall, if you've been on harbor side where you're even closer to the water, or as I said, if you've driven through those big puddles of water thinking it was fresh water. I absolutely would wash the car down with that just to knock the salt off.
Nice. Is there anything else I should know about auto policies in Galveston?
Just making sure that you have somebody that will go through a policy with you line by line. It's unfortunate, but in our industry, 80% of the people just want to get you to sell you a policy. They just want to sell you insurance. Working with an agent that will go through every piece of the policy to let you know what it covers, how it works, and make it bespoke to you, because there's some things you might not want. You might not want medical coverage because you have major medical coverage at work and a low deductible, and so you're like, hey, I really don't need that coverage. Or you don't want rental reimbursement because you have 3 cars and 2 drivers. But it's having that conversation. It's getting educated on what you're buying and not just talking to somebody that's trying to sell you something. It's truly about having a partnership with an agent who's getting you properly protected with the right coverages that are bespoke to you.
And I guess, how many other agents have, I know you said you've been here since what? Your agency's been here since 1967, right?
Our agency started November 19th, 1967.
So are you the longest resident agent here, or?
I am the second longest resident agent. My agency manager, Michelle Chiano, has been with this agency for 32 years.
Okay, that is impressive. So when it comes to writing policies, especially around auto and here in Galveston, safe to say you're probably the expert, or what?
I would use that term. Absolutely. I would absolutely. And the reason being is because, in a lot of industries, there's a lot of overturn. What's the word I'm looking for? And in the insurance industry,
Turnover.
There's a lot of turnover. In the insurance industry, there's a lot of turnover. And that's unfortunate because you'll get people that have the basic understanding of the policy but don't know how to take that policy, explain to you all the coverages, and then make it bespoke to you. Because a lot of the people that are newer in the industry, they're really just trying to make a sale. And it's unfortunate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're ever close to 61st and Stewart Road, we're CVS, AutoZone, we're in between that. If you don't know what your policy says, stop by. I'll sit down with you and have a conversation. My team will sit down and we'll just make sure we go over it line by line. So you know what you have before something happens, not after.